Good morning. It's 8:30. It's time to call to order the Board of Franklin County Commissioners for Wednesday, June the 21st. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Howard?
Present.
Vice Chair Renaud?
Present.
Chair Waymeyer? Commissioner Oglesby?
Present.
Commissioner Dunn?
Present.
At this time, if you would, please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation, which will be led by Pastor Harshaw of the Grace Gospel Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we want to thank you so much for the privilege of being able to be recipients of your mercy today. And we thank you, Lord, for your grace. We do ask that, as you've said in your word, that if any lack wisdom, let them ask of you. Give all men liberally and upbraid not, and we shall receive it. So, Lord, we thank you for the leadership of our county. I ask, Lord, you bless them. Give them wisdom and insight as they continue to follow what you'd have best for citizens of this county. We thank you for their servant leadership. And Lord, we ask you bless the folks that live here. Thank you for this beautiful day and for the proceedings that will be followed. Give you wisdom and insight. We thank you in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, correspondence and organizational business. Derek?
I don't have anything today.
Okay. We have anybody for public comment?
We do. Norm Woogie?
Okay, public comment. Citizens are to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion limited to 5 minutes. The commission will not take action or discuss items at this time. Discussion should be limited to matters of the county commission business. Public comment is not permitted in regard to personnel matters or pending legal matters. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items at a later date. Mr. Woogie?
Morning. My name is Norman Woogie. I reside at 3790 Pawnee Road. I want to share some things and maybe even inspire you. I heard 2 times an apology from the board, ironically at both public meetings. The chairman apologized to the person because we were offending them, evidently, because we wanted to preserve our rights. Actually, he apologized. It really hurt us, to think that our rights were being trampled on. Now is your time for redemption and salvage and do what's right. And I opened up the Bible a little bit, kind of searching for some answers, and one of the things that was in there, one who shows no mercy receives no mercy. And I got kind of bothered by that, but the pendulum swings both ways. And what one sows, so shall he reap. So be it. Have a good one.
That the only public comment? Next agenda is our consent agenda. Items for approval are the commission meeting minutes for June the 14th, claim vouchers in the amount of $656,607.35. No tax change orders, correct? So I have a motion then for the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Renaud?
Yes. First item of business today is the approval of a resolution authorizing the issuance of delivery of $7,500,000 worth of general obligation bonds to assist with the financing of the Proximity Park project. Derek?
Yeah, this is another step en route to getting our general obligation bonds. We've got David Arterberry here today to kind of walk us through that, as well as Tyler Ellsworth and Adrian Serene, who are our bond counsel attorneys. So.
Okay. Welcome, gentlemen.
Whatever you like.
Good morning. David Arterberry with George K. Baum and Company. It's a pleasure to be here again this morning. Today is actually the final step that the Commission will need to take in order to issue the $7.5 million. That number's actually going to change a little bit, and I'll talk about that, but of bonds to fund the new industrial park roads. What I'd like to do a little bit before I actually turn things over to Tyler to walk you through what action is necessary is just give you a little bit of an idea of what we've been up to since you were last discussing the bond issue, and then talk a little bit about the results of the bond sale that occurred yesterday. Since we were last here, we've been up to several different things related to the bond issue. First of all, we worked with Standard & Poor's to have the county's rating reviewed, and it was affirmed at the A+ level. And I'd like to give commendation to Derek and to Janet and to Colt, who all participated in that rating call and did a really good job of representing the county and putting forth your credit and answering all their questions that they had. We also wrapped up, completed, and distributed the official statement, or the preliminary official statement, the offering document for the issue. It's the disclosure document that has a lot of details about the bonds and the community in it. That was sent out a week ago to investors or potential investors around the country. And then we also spent some time last week calling around to potential firms who bid on municipal bonds just to make sure that they were aware of the sale and try to drum up some interest. So all of that kind of occurred over the last few weeks. The bond market itself has actually been very strong over that same time. And in fact, that interest rate comparison graph that I handed out, I just wanted to point out, if you look at the top graph on that on the sheet, the solid line on that represents an index of municipal bond rates. And as you can see from that, if you look over on the far right-hand side, where we're at right now, although rates did get a little bit lower than they are right now, late, in 2015 and 2016. If you look historically, going back, 10 years, we're at about the lowest level rates have ever been. And actually, if you take this back 20 plus years, we're really still near historic lows. So if you're going to be borrowing $7.5 million, now is about as good time as there has been historically to do it. So yesterday at 1 o'clock, we actually received bids. We used an online bidding process. We ended up getting a total of 3 bids, and those 3 bids are listed on that other handout that I provided to you. And you'll see that the best bid was provided, the firm that offered to buy the bonds at the lowest interest rate was submitted by D.A. Davidson with a true interest cost of 3.15344%. The next closest bid, the cover bid, was by Commerce Bank at 3.17, et cetera, percent. So a nice cover bid, too. So we're real pleased with these results. We actually, earlier in the day, had a couple other bidders who were interested in bidding, too. They ended up not submitting, and I was kind of curious as to why they didn't submit. So I called them after the sale, and they said they liked the credit a lot. It didn't have anything to do with your guys' credit or your rating or the structure of the bond issue. There were simply a lot of other bonds in the market yesterday that they had purchased and already had a supply of bonds, so just passed on your sale. But nonetheless, these results are really good competitive results, and we checked D.A. Davidson's bid. It meets all of the bidding parameters. They supplied the required good faith deposit. So there's no reason, in my opinion, that you wouldn't want to go ahead and accept this bid. As part of the bidding process, one thing that we'll do after we receive the bid, depending on how they structure their bid, we have the opportunity to resize the bond issue. And we did that, and instead of issuing $7.5 million of bonds, the new principal amount is only $7,270,000. You'll still net the same amount. You'll still net $7.5 million, but because of the way they constructed their bid and because of the premium that they'll be paying you, you don't need to issue the full $7.5 million. This will also preserve your capacity to do some future borrowing this year, maybe for some radios, and still receive some advantageous tax treatment on that borrowing too. So I know I kind of covered a lot of ground here, so obviously if you have any questions, let me know. I'll ask Tyler to come up now and kind of walk you through the remaining, step that you'd need to take. So.
Anybody any questions? Okay.
What, when's the money show up?
When's it show up? You know that, I was just looking at the delivery date, July 6th. Your money will be on hand July 6th. And part of that money will be used to pay off the temporary note that you issued last year. But the remaining, $6.5 million will be put into your bank, and you'll have that to pay for project costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Point, Tyler.
The action being requested of you this morning is the adoption of the bond resolution, and that basically does a couple of things. It authorizes a county to accept the bid of D.A. Davidson that was provided yesterday to purchase the bonds. It outlines the terms and the details of the bonds, and it's the last step that the commission would need to take in order to go through and sort of consummate this sale and purchase of the bonds. If you adopt this resolution today, then as David mentioned, funds will be provided on the 6th of July, and that's the closing date. And essentially, from this point forward, we as your representatives sort of coordinate the closing and coordinate the additional paperwork, but this is the last step from your perspective that needs to occur.
This resolution that we have, then the resolution that we'll do, or do we have to change the amount in that resolution, or just do a resolution?
Tyler's prepared an amended resolution that he sent me over, and so I printed it. As far as I know, the only changes in it were
The
the
dollar.
amount to
Okay.
adjust it down from that 7.5 million to 7.270.
Right, so all
That's
the other
correct.
details in the resolution would stay the same.
They would. We did fill in some of the information, including the maturities
Right,
and
on
so
the
forth
last
on that
page there, yeah.
Exhibit B. That's correct, and we
Those
identified.
blanks are now filled in.
That's correct. And so for the resolution itself, I think the only change, say, in the caption in that portion at the top describing it is that par amount from 7.5 to 7.27.
Okay.
Correct.
Any other questions?
What's this resolution number gonna be, Jen?
Is 1729.
Again, what was that, Janet?
1729.
If there's nothing else then, Derek, then we're ready to have a motion for the approval of resolution number 17-29 for the bonds for the proximity park roads of Kingman and Montana.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, Roy? Second?
Second.
Commissioner Oglesby,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Vice Chair Renaud.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Arterberry, and the rest of you.
Hey, Randy. Before we move on to the second item, I know John Steelman just got here, and I want to give him a chance to get his bearings a little bit. So why don't we drop down to the fourth item, the TGT requests, and do
Okay.
that first?
Sure. Item number 4 is the consideration for approval of the TGT funding. We know that we have several requests for funds from the transient guest tax. Derek, you want to?
Yeah. Several requests came in when tourism services were under the chamber, and these are some of those requests. As you all know, we're still in the process of setting up the county's tourism department, and this might look a little different once that's set up. It's my understanding, based on discussions we've had at prior study sessions, that there's interest in that tourism committee. These types of things might very well be something that the tourism committee looks at and kind of makes decisions on. That will all be up to you all to decide. But in the interim period, given that some of these events are coming up, I feel like the board needs to look at these and decide what they want to do. Susan is here. I think she is able to provide a little history behind these requests and what's been done in the past. So I would ask her to come up and go from there.
Okay. Good morning, Susan.
Morning. Thank you. In the past, the CVB board would send out to various applicants or event planners request for us to assist them with their events. You've got a list in front of you of the ones that are coming due fairly soon. What we would generally do is decide ahead of time a dollar figure that was going to be the maximum budget, and then after we received the applications, reviewed what they were asking for, as a committee would sit down and decide who would receive what funds. We have never in the past done this in an open session, so one group did not know what the other group was receiving. So I feel a little bit hesitant today to I do have those figures of what they have received in the past, so I can certainly share those with you. One of the things that I think is imperative is that we come up with some kind of dollar figure before we start handing out money, because I think that there should be some cap of some sort. Otherwise, we're just going to be spending a lot. We keep receiving requests all the time, even though we ask for these co-sponsorship applications to be in at the end of May. On my desk, I just received about 3 additional requests for assistance from the Tourism Board of Franklin County. One of those was the Wellsville Car Show. Another one was for the Franklin County Fair, to be a sponsor there too. So these applications come in at all times of the year. One of the things that maybe we can make a decision on as a committee as we move forward is having all those applications come in at one time, and that way it'll be easier to decide how to spread out those funds. But when they come in piecemeal, it's kind of difficult.
And just to deviate a little bit, Derek, are we looking at a time frame yet for that committee or whatever you think? Are we talking about this fall by maybe 2 or 3 months down the road, or?
Oh, I think it can be significantly sooner than that.
Okay.
I mean, we've made a lot of progress, and this is something HR is working on, certainly on a weekly basis. So, yeah, I think we'll have a committee in place.
So
yet
in that
this
case,
summer.
that committee then can decide what time frame they want to use, when they want the deadline to be, and the process.
And going
so
forward
forth.
for next year, I think that
And
would
the
be a
next
great
time.
way
Right, okay.
to do that.
Well, right now, I know we have the American Legion Post, we have the Richmond Free Fair, we have the Power of the Pass, we have the Lane Agricultural Fair, and the Franklin County Fair. Now, is there others that you have right now?
There are others. I have sent all that information to the county, and I can certainly make sure you all have a copy of those so you can see all those applications.
Okay.
We didn't bring every single one of them before you today. We brought kind of the first batch that had sooner event dates. I didn't anticipate, nor do I think we ought to go through every single request today.
Okay.
We selected a handful that, again, had event dates this summer. And we'll get the others in front of you certainly, or if we have that committee in place and you want these to run through the committee, we'll take those to the committee, but.
Right. And I know in the past, we've had financial statements, and we've also have past practice what we've done.
Right.
So maybe, like Franklin County Fair, they're asking 2,000. Do you know what the past requests have been offhand, either one of you?
It was not that amount. In last year, and that's the only year I can go by, the maximum grant amount approved was for $300. Now, that's the co-sponsorships, but we did have other things that transpired, like OMA was doing a series of concerts, and at that time, the board felt that participating in that was good, and so that was over the co-sponsorship approved amount.
Right.
So I shouldn't say that there's never been a grant or a co-sponsorship
Mr.
given.
Chairman, should we start at the beginning with the Legion? Let's start with what did they get in the past? Is this an increased amount? That's what I want to know. is
Okay.
If we could.
So you want to know American Legion. Last year, they received $300.
And they want 1,500 this year, the same event.
This year's application was slightly different. We were working with a new committee. They felt that they should not put any kind of cap on it. They wanted to see what people were asking for. So it's just different than last time. So I don't know. I was hesitant to not put a cap when we sent that out, simply because I think, you know, why not ask for more? You know, it's human nature, so. Generally, in the past, the co-sponsorships were to help with advertising.
And I mean, it's inevitable when you're making this big of a transition. You know, you're not going to have every system in place, every policy worked out immediately. I think it's understandable if the board doesn't want to deviate from last year's request and stick to the same amount. That might be something to consider because, again, this is still in a transition phase. Susan and I, as well as the board, the committee, will work on, you know, what the policy looks like moving forward in terms of requesting TGT donations. So, I mean, certainly the board has the ability to grant whatever it so chooses, but while this is in transition, it might be advisable to look at what was done last year and for now, because something to consider is if you up that amount, you might be setting increased expectations, and without a system in place yet, I'm not sure that's advisable, so.
Okay. The next one was the Richmond Free Fair,
Yes.
and last year, they're asking 500. Last year, they received,
They did not make an application last year. Oh, I'm sorry, they did, 300.
The Lane Agriculture Fair has made a request without a specific dollar amount. Do you have one for last year on that one as well?
I don't see that Lane received anything last year.
Okay.
Now, that being said, we did place an advertisement in their Lane booklet, and that was a cost that at the Franklin County Visitor Center we absorbed. So again, we did help out, but they did not submit a co-sponsorship application.
Okay. There was a note on this one that it was turned in after the deadline, but hand carried in and brought in.
Yes.
And then the Power of the Past has requested 300. That is what they would received in the past.
Yes.
Do we still help them with their registration?
We, at Power of the Past, we usually make all their gift bags for them, so that's an added cost. In the past, we've also done an advertisement for them, which is, again, a cost that we absorbed. And we also help man the booth, the gates for them, and help out with their ham and bean supper. So the Visitor Center does a lot for the Power of the Past.
Okay.
What's the
And the
amount?
county also gives them free trash pickup and dumping during that too, which amounts to more than people realize.
Yeah.
Long run.
What was the amount they had last year? Was it
300. That was the maximum amount.
And then the Franklin County Fair is the last one we had on our list. Yeah, was that also then a 300?
No, it was 100.
It was 100.
I have a real problem with this one. We budget several $1,000s to them each year. And then to come back and ask for more money from this, I kind of have an issue with that. We go over the budgets and felt that was fair, what we was given for them to take care of their facility and to do the fair and so forth. I'm not sure would be inclined to give more money out of the transient guest tax than what we feel fair when we budget their budget.
Well, and just keep in mind, and I don't disagree with that at all, when this request was made, it was made to another organization.
Right.
So now that I think your views are completely appropriate, but I'm not sure that the Franklin County Fair, when it made this request, thought that it was coming back to the commissioners for another,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they looked at the visitor center as a different entity
Yeah.
totally, and a different set of funds to do
And
that.
if I may, we always go ahead and sponsor the photography contest for the Franklin County Fair, the Visitor Center. And we also did receive a request just June 9th from Franklin County to sponsor as well. So that's in addition to the request for the co-sponsorships.
Okay, gentlemen, comments on, you want to do them individually and see where we're at then?
I would recommend that, separate motions are made for each organization. And then, I would consider trying to remain consistent between not favoring one local fair over another fair. Just keep that in mind. So.
Right, and with that in mind, even though Lane didn't request last year, I think they should be on the same par as Richmond's, so.
Okay, the American Legion baseball request.
American Legion, they charge a fee at the gate for the games and these tournaments. And I don't know for sure that just pays for the umpires or probably goes for rent too and equipment.
There are probably a lot of different baseball recreation programs that have baseball tournaments that bring in people to their communities, and it would be pretty hard, I think, to come up with something maybe that would do that. Rick, your comments on that?
Well, I agree with what Roy's saying. I think that you're opening pretty much a can of worms when you start giving out to one baseball tournament. Anybody else that comes along wants to have a tournament is where you draw the line. Plus, like he said, they do charge at the gate. There's money made there. There's entry money that comes in from those teams. I would not be in favor of giving any more than what they got last year.
May I add something to that? One of the requests that we had with the co-sponsorship is that you complete a report after the event, and that is one of the groups that never returned the report.
And we don't have a financial statement from that group or whatever
No, sir.
either. That tends to me to be,
I don't think that's good, responsible use of money. If you're not going to follow what the rules are, you need to submit the reports if they've been requested.
And I understand sometimes whoever's in charge of the event doesn't do it the next year, and I understand that, but, we followed up on a regular basis. I as soon as the event was over, within 15 days, I had asked a request and followed up with that.
I think it's a great event, but I'm sorry, if you can't show accountability, then I'm reluctant to sponsor anything at all. My motion would be that
If you're not gonna,
Yeah.
if you wanna give nothing, you don't need to make a motion at all. The only
that's
motion would
the
be,
consensus I hear from you, Rick.
Who are they renting these facility from?
ORC.
ORC.
I think they should work with ORC on that, if that's the case. I don't know that. I'm not in favor of paying transit gas tax money so they can pay rent to the ORC for the facility.
Roy, you in the same boat there then?
Yeah, the American Legion chapter was having trouble getting an accountability for the Legion program. Had problems with that all the time, so.
I think maybe that brings them back to the table if they want to look for funds in the future to be accountable, so.
Okay, I'm getting the feeling then that there's no interest in funding that one. The next one is the Richmond Free Fair. Last year they received 300, they requested 500.
I think we ought to stick with the 300, because I think these organizations use this kind of money for advertising, basically, for their event.
Okay?
I will add, if I may, that the Richmond, we also placed an ad at a cost of about $100.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Rick?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, and the same amount for Lane.
You want to do both those together in one motion? I'm okay with those.
I would separate the
All right.
motions.
Let's do one for the Richmond Free Fair then. Motion, somebody?
Make the motion that we give Richmond Free Fare $300 from the transient guest tax.
Okay,
Second.
got a second?
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Vice Chair Vinod?
Yes. All right, the Lane Agriculture Fair.
I guess same kind of like in Richmond. I'll make a motion to give them 300.
Okay, got a motion for 300, a second?
Second.
All right,
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Vinod?
yes. Okay, the next one is the Power of the Past.
They bring in a lot of people from all over the area, out of state. I think we ought to at least give them 300.
And I agree with what Rick said. We certainly provide a lot of in-kind stuff in there in a lot of ways, plus the visitor center, but I would also be fine with what they received last year. Anybody? Rick?
That's fine, 300.
I hear a motion then?
Make a motion for $300 for Power of the Pass.
Second.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chair Vinod?
Yes. And then our last one is the Franklin County Fair.
You know where I stand on this.
Okay? And you said we sponsored a photo contest or?
We do. It's a nominal fee. And what we had done, at one time, we had done a plaque, and I said, I think the kids prefer cash, so that's what we did this year.
Okay.
Just I believe it was $20.
Well, I know like you said, on the county partners, we've given several $1,000s to the fair board, but Roy?
Well, I know they probably certainly need it, but till we get more organized on this, I think pass on that.
Commissioner Oglesby?
They did not receive anything last year, is that correct?
They did.
100.
100.
100.
But they had not applied before last year.
And again, I think the county fair board, and this application may have came from a person that wasn't even aware of the county fair board and what they're, what we've done there, so I can understand that. Any interest in somebody making a motion for something?
Well, actually, I think I'll make a motion to give them what they had last year. I think they can,
$100.
yeah.
Is there a second?
Ask for a second again.
Okay, is second, no second motion, second? Okay, motion,
Time.
is there a second for the motion of $100 then for the Franklin County Fair? Hearing none then, the motion dies. Okay, going back, thank you. Anything else, Susan?
Nope.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Going back to second item on the agenda, discussion of the district court's budget. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. As a reminder, since I haven't been here a while, John Steelman, I'm the court administrator of the 4th Judicial District. And I think we have two budgets. The one is the district court operating budget, which funds the operations of the Franklin County District Court. And by statute, the county pays all the operating expenses, and then the state pays our personnel costs. So just as a little summary. And actually, that budget is less than last year's. So we had, as we were doing the budget, we have gone paperless in the district court, which is a efficiency thing, but it certainly has saved some paper costs, that sort of thing. So we've operated with the same budget for several years, but I think we submitted that budget a little less. And that budget is mainly, over half is for indigent defense, for the indigent defense attorneys, and then another $47,000 is for juror costs. The rest of it is operating expenses. And then the other budget we have is what's called the district-wide budget, and that's a budget that is a combined budget with all 4 counties in the judicial district, Anderson, Coffee, Franklin, and Osage. And the other 3 counties put in their share of the funds. They send it here to Franklin County. We appreciate Franklin County being the kind of taking care of that budget for us, and vouchering it out, and you've done that for a while, and we appreciate it. That is a budget that is for the travel expenses and training expenses of those personnel that travel throughout the whole district on a regular basis, and that includes judges, myself, probation, that sort of thing. And so we take the populations of each county and then just split that up. So I think basically Franklin County is about 43% of the population of the 4th Judicial District, so you put in your share based on that. And we did ask, we have asked for $5,000 more in that budget total, because I've had judges that have asked for more training and education, which I think is a good thing, and also anticipating that in 2018 there's a possibility that we may have some judge turnover, and if that's the case, there's going to be a few more expenses in terms of training them. But your actual increase in that budget based on that, since it's 5,000 total, but 47% of that's about 1,800 or 2,000 or something like that. Yeah.
What are
Okay.
we paying for jurors right now?
What do we pay per day?
Yeah.
We pay 30, I think, the first day and 20 the next. If they're there the first day, but then if they're there for subsequent days, then we pay less, and I think it's 20 a day. It used to be 40, I believe, at one time. The statute changed, and then Franklin County bumped it to 40, and I think you've gone back down to 30 and 20, I believe. It's been a while since I've thought about it, so I'll double check.
I asked you.
I know, I should know, shouldn't I?
Agree.
Yeah.
I thought it was at 40.
Yeah, I think it was at one time. Right, but then with the major trial we had a few years ago, I think the commissioners, I think you dropped it down. I might also mention that last year, at the end of the year, the state judicial branch developed additional resources to collect our monies due to the court, and so we contracted with a different cost collection agency, which is an attorney who can, and I believe that'll be bringing in, we'll be collecting more money that's due to the court than we have been, and we already are, so.
In the district-wide one, it's 4 counties,
Yes,
and they pay equally,
they pay based on their
so it
population,
is based on population?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
yeah.
John provides that to me every year, and I have that back at the office if you'd guys like to take a look at that. And we also use that to split the district coroner salary also.
Right, okay. Are those other counties losing population by chance or not, or that's pretty consistent? Or I know it's just probably a blind question, but,
Every year when I create the budget, I have my staff contact each county and get whatever their population is for that year. It varies a little bit here and there. I could probably tell you, but a little bit, a percentage or two every year, it seems like, but not very much.
right, okay.
One question's come up when we're doing our budgeting about bond control. People out on bond, and we have, it's in a different budget that manages the people that are bonding now, right?
Bond supervision,
Yeah.
yeah, that's currently under the sheriff.
We discussed that a bit, being a court's cost.
Yeah,
Rather
yeah,
than
that's a discussion that we've kind of just, we're on the surface of that conversation currently, but yeah, that will be an ongoing discussion in terms of whose cost that should be. But no decisions have been made at this point, so.
This might be a good time to bring it up with Mr. Stillman here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, and he'll be part of that. I think we've had one discussion in which he was certainly a part of, as well as the sheriff and myself and county attorney, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Right, we have, the Court Services Department, which is the judicial branch part of probation supervision, which is kind of the front end of the continuum with community corrections to do community supervision. That's under district court, that's court services, and there's like 6, I think, staff members, 5 staff members that do pre-sentence investigations and then supervise offenders, misdemeanors and juveniles, in addition to what community corrections does. Some districts do some bond supervision, that staff. I personally would, when that issue came up, the new juvenile bill just started this year, and new juvenile change for juvenile offenders. And the Court Services Department is now taking on what's called IIP, which is intensive, it's immediate intervention. And so they've just been given a new task of supervising juveniles before they get formally charged. And so they don't have a lot of time to take on the bond supervision, to be quite honest. That would be my first reaction. I know the judges spend a lot of time trying to work on what's the proper bond amount, who does need to be supervised while they're out on bond, whether they even need to be supervised before they get convicted. But I know that issue is being discussed, and will certainly be part of that.
Is some of that funded by the state in some places?
The
Bond supervision?
it would probably be, if it's under court services, under the district court, it would just be them absorbing that job duty. No additional funding for it that I know of. Is that Mr. Howard? Yeah.
Derek, you gone through the budget with it and looked at it and?
Yeah, no, I don't see anything here that I find alarming. John's been good to work with on this. I think he's made a concentrated effort to try and stay as flat as possible, and he's done a very good job of that. So I have no specific concerns here.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, John, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item on our budget is the county attorney's office budget. Steve's here. Good morning, sir.
Morning, gentlemen. There are a couple of things in the budget. One line item in particular, I believe that the request that you have in front of you is not what we had originally requested. So we're wanting to make a correction to that, and that'd be line item 102, which is part-time salaries. For some reason, it got listed here as $35,050. The request that our office has made is $39,197. A couple of things in regards to that. I would point back to the 2016 budget. We were at $38,197, and then for whatever reason last year, county administrator and HR, without consulting myself and just prior to publication and appearing before you, decreased it to $35,723, and then for whatever reason they've got it listed as $35,050. And the reason why we're requesting $39,197 is not only does that get us just past the level we were at 2 years ago, but it's reflective of one of the things that we're trying to do in terms of staffing to, one, fulfill our obligations and do the work we need to do, but also have the county experience cost savings. As you are all aware, part-time employees, by employing part-time employees, we experience cost savings through not having to extend all the typical benefits that we would to a full-time employee. The other thing that it allows us to do oftentimes is we are able to be more flexible in terms of when we schedule these folks, when they work, and the kind of work that they do. It allows us to get some things done either early in the morning or late in the evening after normal office hours that would need to be ready by the next business day or things of that nature. And it helps us avoid doing things like pay overtime to full-time employees and things like that. The other thing that we are trying to do is continue to grow our intern program. A robust intern program for legal attorneys is important. It basically accomplishes two things. One, it allows our attorneys to give some legal work to folks that can do it for them, frees up time for them to work on more complicated things, things of that nature. In addition to that, if we ever do have openings, that intern pool is a very good pool to draw from as far as potential employees, because they've had experience in our office. We've been able to see their work firsthand. We have a better understanding out of that hiring pool whether we believe that candidate's going to be successful and be someone who we would want to make long-term investments in. So in that particular line item, we are requesting $39,197. That would allow us to continue to fund the part-time spots, as well as expand and continue to have interns serve the office and do legal work. As far as the other increases that we have, there's a couple of areas. Some of them are basically cost of doing business. One example is postage. Postage has gone up. For our office, there are certain things that we're required by statute to do in certain way with certain types of postage. Oftentimes it's very expensive, and statutorily we don't have a choice. We have to send it certain ways. Those ways are usually quite expensive. In addition, we're requesting this year in terms of office equipment an additional $1,500. That goes to things like chairs. We have a lot of chairs, and it's more just what I want to avoid is having to replace 10 chairs all at once. That's very cost prohibitive. It's not very wise. So we try to keep track of our furniture, things like that. They're going to wear down over time, and get them on a schedule and replace them as needed, but not have to replace them all at once. Help with cost savings in that particular nature. The rest of the budget, for the most part, is similar to what we've done in years past. We've tried to do what we can in light of the tax lid to maintain cost and things of that nature. And I'm obviously open and welcome to any questions you might have.
I might, and I can speak now or I can speak after your questions. And you heard this from me several times last week when we did these. The lion's share of Steve's increase here are salaries for his full-time people. And as we discussed, we are attempting to give a 2.5% performance increase as well as a 1% cost of living. Until we put the puzzle together, we're not going to know if that's possible, but certainly we hope that it is. And you'll see right there that that's, nearly 23,000 of that increase. Steve and I did discuss his part-time salary line. Unfortunately, we weren't able to discuss it until yesterday, given our conflicting schedules, so that amount didn't get revised. I wholeheartedly support the amount. Unfortunately, and it's been an ongoing frustration for Janet and I, we can't speak to why his 2016 amount went from 38 down to 35 because neither of us were involved in that process. But certainly, part-time help is very valuable. In addition, and Steve spoke to this, but attorneys are notorious for their mobility. We switch jobs a lot. He sees that a lot. Having a robust intern program does give him that pipeline, helps us save on advertising costs, helps us save on training costs because some of the training is occurring while they're there. We more than make up for this additional $4,000. I think it's a no-brainer. And yeah, everything else is, we've seen this across departments. It's just the cost of doing business going up. So there's nothing on this sheet that is all concerning to me. So
That was the only question I was really looking at the 216 actuals too, why that was so low. I know we don't know on the 217, but I assume that it's going to come in a lot closer to the budgeted amount than what 216 did.
But the actuals have been very low in that line item. I know it's probably an unpredictable line item, your part-time people and whatever else, and I certainly agree with what Derek said about your rationale for using that, because that does save money, and it also gives you that advantage of hiring, so I don't have a problem with that. But you did talk about your furniture and stuff. You have a furniture line item 503, and then you had office equipment 303, which is the one we added 1,500 to. Is there a difference between 303 and 503 where you might be looking at some different things?
Yes, in terms of 503, that has to do with, basically, we're looking more, some of this goes to, you'll notice technology hardware is at a zero. Essentially, the difference between 303 and 503. 303 has to do with office equipment. Obviously, 503 has to do with furniture and equipment. In some ways, it's tomato. However, one of the things we're trying to do, as I indicated, by making the request we are, it's for things such as chairs, things like that. They're going to wear out over time. The other line item has to do with specific either technological equipment that we want to be able to supplement IT with, as far as whatever they have coming out of their budget, in addition to if it needs to be a bigger ticket item, such as if we're going to have to replace a desk, or if we're going to have to install a credenza, things like that. And so it's really a matter of, one of them, it has more to do with just basic maintenance and trying to stay on top of things. The other has to do if we need to do an additional piece or add something to the office, we want to have that there as well. Obviously, if we don't need to do that, we're not going to rob Peter to pay Paul, as far as that goes.
Right, okay. Anyone else?
I have a question.
All right, thank you,
All right, thank you,
Commissioners.
Steve.
Thank you.
Derek, has that wrapped up all of our departments in on our budgeting and stuff? Gone through all of them?
It does, yes. There were a couple of departments, and we've had their meetings, but kind of had some lingering questions, and that I think we'll come back to the board with, and maybe as soon as next week's meeting. But yeah, we are, at this point, ready to submit our info and get it on the forms and start crunching numbers, so we're at a good spot in the process.
Okay. Staff reports? Steve, anything else? No? Okay. Allison? No? Susan, you're okay? Janet? No. Okay, commissioner comments. Rick?
I haven't been to anything since the last meeting.
Okay. Rick?
I haven't either.
Mr. Dunn?
Had two meetings yesterday, area agency on aging yesterday morning. With Randall, we went to the meeting and went over a lot of their budgets, and they're trying to firm up their budgeting. And one thing that came up is change their leadership out of Mid-American Nutrition. They're looking for another director. They got an interim director right now, and the agency is looking for alternative sources for Meals on Wheels, serving the nutrition sides and Meals on Wheels. And they looked at all the 6 counties they serve, and I don't know how that's going to affect us, because we support Mid-American Nutrition, and I don't know, about 80% of their business is area agency on aging, and if they go with other vendors for the meals, I don't know how that affect our support for Mid-American Nutrition. Just have to wait and see. That was a big thing that came out of the meeting on that. Randy, you want to?
No, I was just surprised at the different counties, whether it was looking at the hospitals or jail or other sources for the meals, such as Price Chopper, and maybe using a voucher system and that type of thing. But I think it's also some meals coming from Iowa, Minnesota, a couple of vendors that send frozen meals out or prepared meals. And there's a lot of programs, I guess, out there to do that, but certainly looking for ways that would fit the citizens the best in each county and each area to get meals to them.
One other thing that came out, attendant care and household care, the people that do that, they really lower their budget significantly because they don't have enough people to provide those services for that. And I'm sure the services are needed, but if you don't have the providers, then they can't get the service. So their budget for that went down significantly. So need more providers for both those needs. Anything else on that, Randall?
No, I was surprised that like you said, there's a lot of companies out there that are bidding this provide the service. They just can't find the people to do the work.
I went to the ECAN board meeting last night. CEO Richard Jackson's doing better, had bypass surgery, and he's in rehab now up there at the Olathe Medical Center campus. We talked about the Head Start program, and they're getting a couple new vehicles for that program. Also, they're serving about 40 kids down here at the Head Start. They're at 2nd and Cedar Street. That's where the main headquarters is, and they're rehabbing the building right north of that, and it's going to be part of the whole area down there, and it's going to be really nice for the Head Start Center. See, also they're feeding about 40 kids at lunchtime at the Woodward Center. They're doing that during the summertime, and it's open to anybody from 1 to 17 years old that wants to come and eat. No restriction on who gets meals or who doesn't get meals or anything like that. It's for the kids of Ottawa, Rankin County. That's probably the main highlights of those two things, board meetings. Also this morning, I just got from Joy, Rob Roberts, Commissioner of Miami County, contacted her. The Vietnam Traveling Tribute Wall is going to be in Paola starting on the 15th of July. And American Legion is sponsoring it along with Miami County. And they requested a proclamation from Franklin County for the event. And also I volunteered to represent this board if nobody else objects over there at the opening ceremony. So it'll be July 15th. We'll be hearing more about that as more information comes through.
I think that'd be great to have that representation. That'd be a good deal. Appreciate that. Do you know how long it'll be there?
It'll probably be a week.
So, okay. Okay, as Roy said, I was at that meeting yesterday. I think that's the only one I've been to since our last meeting. Today we have the joint luncheon in the chamber here, Commission Chambers. Study session next Monday. So, anything else that we need to bring up?
And I'm not sure, Joy and I are working on that. I'm not sure we're going to have a study session.
Okay.
So if we don't have the items, then certainly we'll put a notice of cancellation out, but it's not looking like it as of now.
Okay. Nothing else then? I would look forward to hearing a motion for adjournment.
Make the motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.